Hey, good morning, and welcome to a new episode of Buckman's Model Mania. This is the first Saturday after Snowmageddon 2022. Everybody was panicking around Wednesday, shutting everything down. We actually got about 8 or 9 inches. It's starting to melt now. I went out yesterday, dug a path for the mailman from the street to our box where we get our packages delivered, which is right at our front door, and threw some salt down. It was actually not bad. Powdery. It was powdery snow even a day after, but it's all melting now, and I expect that it will be gone by Tuesday or Wednesday. Like I said, it's Saturday. So let me show you what I've done since the last video. Last video, you may remember, I was working on windows, and it was, there were a lot of them to do. Since then, before I glued the two hulls together, I taped the whole thing up, masked off. Like right here, I masked off because that's where a part is actually going to have to glue in. So I didn't want to have to fight with scraping, and I painted it, the interior of the hull, first black and then white. Black for the light blocking, white to reflect the paint. And you can see actually where it was painted and where it was not. And then I also, before I put the hull halves together, I did paint a little bit. The outside matters not very much because I'm going to be repainting it. The inside was mostly where I had to get the color in so that the correct color is there, and then I've glued the hull together. And what I did was I actually started at the front. This was like an 8-hour process to glue this. I used the Tester's red tube, and I just started here at the front and got this middle piece here. You can see that piece that has no paint whatsoever on it in the middle between the bow thrusters. That's the part with the propellers, and you can see there is light bleed, not too bad. I may just use some silver tape if it actually bleeds after I've painted after I've installed the lights, and I'm going to do one more light coat of white inside here. But I started at the bow, glued, turn this over, glued down to about here, and clamped it. So clamped it and or used these bits of tape to get it to stay together. And every hour and a half or so, I would go a little bit further. Reason I do it that way is because that way you've got a solid piece anywhere along the line or towards the front, and it just goes together. It is kind of funny what I found out after I glued it is that the parts of the hull are actually bowed inward. The pins are engaged. Everything is good. And I did some fill. I've done some sanding. Wow, I've got a spot right there. Came off with my thumbnail. But the fill, once I paint it, I'm not going to be too worried about this seam because it's on the bottom of the boat. I didn't do anything between here and here simply because that area is where the stand will go. You won't see it at all. And I've used this particular stand before. It was provided with the Ida Blue as well. Problem with this stand is that if you put a power plug in here at the angle of the side here, you actually end up with it sitting up a little bit because the power plug will extends far enough in there that it actually goes down beyond the bottom of the stand. What I'm probably going to do is do just a couple of Arduino wires into here and then do an RCA plug that will hit a wall wart after that. I don't like to put the wires directly into the ship. I like to go from the bottom to where you can't see them very much. And then with the Arduino wires, I'll have one male, one female. That way, if I unplug it with the power plug I build, I'll know exactly which way it has to plug in, and I won't have to, possibly not power it. So like I said, I've also done some fill work. I've sanded it. I really think that the aft end here is going to be really good. The only spot I have to worry about is the rounded part here. Beyond that, it's pretty much under the ship. And I will let you guys know this stand that I'm working on here. I bought it for the 1-200 Titanic, and I think I've reviewed it before, but not since I got the new pins or screws actually for it, to where I don't have to sit here with a Allen stock to take them out. They're actually knobs, and this allows me to rotate it a specific amount so that I can actually work inside it while it's on the stand. Really kind of a cool thing, and it's going to come in really handy when I am doing decals, because I can sit here and rotate this half up to where I'm doing decals here. And there are a lot of decals. From your perspective, top down, you're not seeing it as well as I am. This is almost dead on facing me. Let me take it back to center. And inside this, the pieces that rotate, there's actually little holes that these screws will go through to lock it in place. I'm not hitting it, I don't think, right now. I'm not going to be too worried about it. Actually, I think, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it right now, but I'll put those back in. So, while gluing the hull in, I also glued these bracings in, which these bracings are awesome. They keep your hull from flexing in too far. They also keep it from flexing out if you do it right. If you actually glue it right in there. And then the next piece that will go in after this, I don't know whether you can see the detail on this or not, but there's lines on there to simulate the wooden decks. I have wooden decks for this model. They came with it as the Platinum. But this here, these two tabs fit into these two slots, and everything lines up almost perfectly. I had dry fit this before, and it did not fit really well at all, because for this being the second iteration of this kit, there was a ton of flash. There was flash mostly on, I want to say it was the port side. No, it was the starboard side. You can see here. Okay, so here, these holes are have a little bit more plastic to the outside than these do, because the molding was a little bit off and there was a lot of flash here. I also noticed that I lost one staircase. I may or may not get hit up Revell. I don't think in the grand scheme of things that staircase is going to matter that much. I'll probably figure out something to scratch build in there. But before this part goes on, because this is a few steps down the way, but I really like the way it fits in here. It's going to seal in really nice. Before that can go on, though, first I have to put in some LEDs. The LEDs I'm going to use, I'm probably going to use single density. I'm going to put 2 strips in each compartment and run the wires through. Eric is going to, I haven't watched his latest video. I'm not sure if he talked about it or not, but he's going to actually drill out through a section to where the LED can just run the full length of the ship. I have the warm white. I have some warm white double density. I may use that depending on how much light I need. And I've got some cool white I may use for the upper decks. But looking at pictures, I think the whole ship is warm white rather than the fluorescent cool white. Next steps that I have to do, excuse me, is inside here, there are these gaps in the hull. There we go. We've got these gaps in the hull here. Those are actually for, truthfully, they're like wings. What it is that the gyros on the ship are so sensitive that when a wave hits and in heavy seas, when a wave hits and tries to tilt the ship this way, automatically these quote unquote wings will adjust and pull the ship back to straight so that the passengers don't have your standard waves going back and forth and getting seasick. It is really a feat of engineering. The Ida Blue has it. Has a lot of cruise ships now have it, and what it is a little compartment here, and this one goes, I believe. I'm not sure if this is the exact spot, but I believe it goes not there. I have the parts actually numbered, and I'm not looking at the instructions, but they are. It'll go in the ship, something like that, and inside there is this little wing. And this little wing, and there's 4 of them. This little wing will fold out. Let's see if I can get it in there. Whoops. It fell out, not folded out. Let's see if I can do it from the outside. So this little wing will fold out from each of the 4 will fold out, if I can get like that, and it'll adjust up and down, not on the model, but it just folds out on the model, but it'll just adjust up and down while the ship is going to keep it stable. And when they're in stable seas, they just fold back inside. Not going to glue them. They're not supposed to be glued, so that they will actually sit there and stick out when you have the model built. Pull it a little bit further forward so you can actually see it. Still have not put the motors on. I've got to do that. I'll do that after I do the last paint, the last light blocking or reflective color now. Paint inside the paint inside now is to bounce the light around. What I will probably do rather than light blocking this with paint is I will light block this with foil tape. It's a lot faster. You don't end up taping everything up, painting it, then pulling all the tape off. Pardon me. But it's moving along. Oh, and here's where a lot of people are going to think I'm a little insane. Eric thought it too when I told him. So inside here, why don't I just rotate this? So inside here, where I drilled out all these windows, I'm going to put strip styrene over top of them. The reason is because to me, it was a lot easier to drill them out than try and tape off each of these windows and clear them out afterwards. I don't have to worry about how I paint them, or how I paint the outside of the hull, how I paint the inside of the hull as I'm going, because I could end up blocking the light from these windows. And that, as a matter of fact, these 2 braces do block a couple of the windows. This way, once I'm done painting, I will just glue some strip styrene inside, and it will match what it should be, what it should look like in my mind's eye. That's why I'm using the yellow the warm white. And these windows actually from the inside or from the outside are not as bright as these windows are, because these are actually balconies. And speaking of which, I almost forgot them. What I did with these is I did the exact same thing. You should be able to see that they're a little bit. Should be able to see that there's paint on the outside of these. First a layer of black, then a layer of white for light blocking, and then the openings in the balcony will actually be where the light comes through. And then on all of them, each one of these balconies gets a tan beigeish floor. It's got to mix the paint for that. So that's going to be what I'm working on next after I get the get these flaps in. Once those are in, I will paint the outside of the hull, at least the burgundy-ish. Well, probably the burgundy-ish, the red, or the burgundy-ish, the black, and the white, so I can get done with the painting on the outside of the hull. Because then I've got a bunch of decals. There's quite a few decals on the kit. Most of them are on the hull. So, a lot going on. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm enjoying this kit a lot. It's a lot of fun. I expect that once I get to the point where this goes in, after these are in, then it should go a lot quicker. Because this is going to need some paint, but not near as much because the wooden decks are going to cover almost all of this portion. Up in here, I don't think there's wooden decks. So that's my update on the Queen Mary 2. Having a blast with it. Sorry it took me a little while to get the video up. If you watch my other channels, or if you're on my Facebook, you'll know there's been some things that have happened in my life in the last 3 weeks. So I'm going to call this good. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and you like to see what I'm doing. I'm also doing multiple part works. I've got several builds going, and I'm going to try and start doing more videos. Mostly I do live streams, but I'm going to try and get into the videos. So like I said, like and subscribe. If you like this kind of content, also go over to HobbyLink International. Maybe just look, maybe join. It's it's a group of modelers that not all of us do YouTube, but most of us will post lots of pictures, lots of models over there. There was about 250 people last I checked, run by a great guy, Kenny Conklin, who's out of New Jersey. And I've met several friends. I have friends from coast to coast and around the world at this point through HobbyLink International, just because we're all of like mind and we like to build models. So have a great day. Squirrel, there's a squirrel outside my window. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. The snowstorms are over for now. Hopefully they didn't hit you too bad. And we will talk to you next time.